Yes.
Thank you. So we are starting. The agenda of this presentation is to go through several aspects of avocado growing, not only irrigation, not only fertigation. You can see the agenda. This is a very general presentation, just an introduction, and in a minute you will understand why it's a very general introduction presentation. Why are we talking about avocado? So in order to understand that, you can read here on the left the nutrition facts. I'll make it easier for you. I summed it up. Avocado packed with healthy fats, good with potassium. They can raise your HDL, which is the good cholesterol. They have favorable effect LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, which means that they better with the good cholesterol and they are getting away from the bad cholesterol. They help you improve your feeling of fullness, which means that they help you be ready to go without eating too much, and so on and so on and so on. You can find in the end. Bottom line, avocado are tasty and healthy. And due to that, in the past few years, many consider the avocado as a superfood. And you can find it all over the world, and it becomes more and more on the plates of people all over the world. This is why more and more markets and people wish to eat the avocado. Where can we find the avocado production worldwide? Basically all over. Yes, it started, 1 minute, pointer. Yes, it started from Central America, mainly Mexico. But from there, it arrived all over the world, and everywhere you can find it. Everywhere? Well, this is a good question. Please take a good look at the map and tell me where you don't really find the production of avocado. Let me help you. India. India hasn't found yet the benefits of avocado. If you ask me, this is all going to change in the next several years. And this webinar is definitely one of the changes that's going to do that. If we talk about the avocado production worldwide, so mid-60 of the 1800, it was rising, but from the beginning of the 2000, it's sharply rised, both production and obviously growing area. You can see that it dramatically rise, and from 2010, it continued to rise until this graph goes all the way to 2022, but it continued to rise, which means that more and more people are starting and beginning to know the avocado and its benefit. Today, at 2024, we are talking about more or less 9.5 million tons of avocado, which have been growing over, let's make it easier for us, 900,000 hectares throughout the world. Who are the biggest avocado production countries? So the first one, and it's been like that for years, Mexico, by far the biggest growing avocado country in the world. And after it, you see all the Central Latin America countries, Mexico, Colombia, Dominican Republic, and Peru. Pay attention to Asia. There is only Indonesia, which is the biggest one. Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, United States is the biggest. Is the biggest in North America, and Israel, such a small country, and already is producing what the 8th biggest growing avocado in the world. Who is missing? You are right, India. Why is everybody talking about avocado? So you can see it in money. From 2023 all the way to 24, it's growing and growing, and the perspective that it's going to grow in the next 4 years, it's going to continue to grow to about 21, $22 billion. And this is what's interesting about this crop. We are talking about two main countries that are still not in the game. India and China are still not in the game of eating avocado. We believe that in the next 5, 10 years, more and more Chinese and Indian will start to eat avocado, and therefore this increment is going to continue. And when we are talking about money, even if avocado is still not in the diet of the Indians, the money is very interesting. So this is why we expect that it's going to grow. Who is pushing this market? So we have two main markets. On the left, you see the American market. You see that it's growing and growing, which means that still within America, within the US, which knows avocado and imports it from Latin America, from Mexico and Guatemala, still there is room for more new avocado markets. And in the off-season of Mexico and Guatemala and Peru, there is room for avocado that will come from India. On the right side, you will find avocados that have been consumed in Europe. And you can see that the main avocado, first of all, you see that it's growing and growing. And second, you see the main markets that produces the avocado for Europe. So it's Chile, Peru, South Africa, and Israel. Again, all of them, or most of them, are coming from the southern hemisphere, which means that there is still room here for avocado that will come from India. So this is the avocado market situation today, where it's go. Again, two market is missing here, and as I told you, my guess is that it's going to grow. China and India. Let's jump and start and talk about the avocado itself. What are the climatic and soil requirements for growing avocado? So the soil should be drained. This is one of the main issues. This is why it's in the first line here. The soil should be drained. Avocado is suffering from over-irrigation very fast. So if you are using a heavy soil, 60% in clay, 60% clay and more, you should grow your avocados on ridges, on small hills, frost-free. Avocado comes from subtropical crops, from tropical crops, from Mexico and Guatemala, so it's very sensitive to frost. This is why we find it in tropical and subtropical latitudes, like in the middle of the minimum day temperature during flowering, which is the sensitive time, is 15 degrees, and minimum temperature is 8 degrees. Again, tropical, subtropical latitude. Induction for flowering goes when the temperature will go below 15 or between 15 and 20. In some places, when this is not available, like in some places in India, for example, so we can manipulate flowering like you know from other crops like guava, citrus, coffee. So it's not something that is not favorable. It's possible to grow, but at least it's not favorable. Extreme temperature. During flowering, if the temperature will rise 32, it will cause fruit drop. And this is something that we should avoid, and we can a bit bypass it by using proper irrigation and fertigation. Salt sensitive. The avocado comes from a very tropical area with excellent water that comes from the sky. Therefore, it's very sensitive to salt. And if you have a problem with salty water, so a rootstock, that desirable rootstock should be chosen. We will talk about it in the next few slides. And heavy metals are a big problem for that. Avoid those kind of soils. As I told you, salinity is a big issue and it affects the yield. Already from 0.9 up to 0.9, there is no loss, but from 1.2, we are starting to expect loss of yield. Keep in mind that when we are talking about EC level of water, we are talking about the water themselves, the salinity issue of the water themselves, but also the fertilizers that we are adding to them. So keep that in mind. It's very important, and it might change how you grow or where you grow, what kind of water you use in order to grow your avocado. How do we recommend to achieve good and healthy orchards that will bear quality fruits every year? So it's very simple. You just follow the procedures, the protocol. Seedling and spacing. Choose the right seedling and the right spacing for your climate, for your market. Second, choose and prepare your field correctly. We will talk about it in a minute, especially when we are talking about soil preparation. We talked about heavy soils. So from 50% and on, we consider medium to heavy soils. Even if your soil is medium to light, we still recommend to go with ridges. Ridges and avocado are very good friends. Pollinators and pollination. We are going to talk about it in a few minutes, in a few slides. It's very common in tropical and subtropical crops not to choose pollinators. We recommend to do that. It's very important, and in a minute you will understand why. Irrigation and fertilization. Now you are sitting at your home in India, a rainy area, some tropical area, and you said to yourself, we have here avocado in the garden, we have mango in the garden, we don't need to irrigate. Wrong. If you want to achieve high yield and big fruits, you need irrigation and fertilization in order to maintain the levels of yield that will give you income, good income. Pruning, I'm not going to touch this issue on this webinar because we don't have time, but it's very, very important. No more huge trees with branches that goes all over. Today we are talking about intensive and correct pruning of your tree in order to achieve high and quality yield. Frost and heat mitigation, I'm going to touch it in a minute. Frost is not an issue in India. Heat mitigation can be an issue in some parts of India. We have the means in order to fight it, but in most of the avocado possible or potential areas, it's not a big issue. We can have a good discussion about it in other time. And plant protection, like in every place, we have plant protection issues that we need to address. On this presentation, we are not going to touch this that much. Let's start from the beginning. Choosing the right rootstock for us. What is the right rootstock for us? According to the soil that you have in your field, according to your water that you have in your field, mainly the salinity issue. Again, lime. If you got high lime in your soil or low lime in your soil, according to that, you should choose the right rootstocks. Disease resistance, according to what you have, Phytophthora or other problem. The main issue in avocado is Phytophthora, most of the time because of over irrigation. Yield and fruit size, according to what you want to achieve. What is the yield that you expect and how high you expect it, according to the market that you are aimed with, the variety that you choose, and then obviously the availability. You can say that you want the best avocado in the market, but if you cannot find it in India because you don't have plants or nursery yet, so it's not relevant. Or you should think ahead in order to where you get it and how much it will get you to get it into India. since we are talking about new crop, or a rather new crop in India, you should take it into consideration. Most rootstocks starts from seed. You see here the seed of the avocado planted in the pots, and this is after a few days, and you can see here that it already grafted. So most of the seeds most of the plants and rootstocks are starting from seed. Our recommendation, although sometimes it sounds very easy, and many kids have grown with playing with avocado seeds, don't do it at home. Go to a professional nursery that will do it for you to make sure that you are starting with a very strong seeds and plants. This is the way to bypass the sensitive few years. When we are talking about rootstocks, it's important to understand that we are talking about three main rootstocks, or better yet to say, three main origin of rootstocks. The first one is the Mexican. This is where it all started. The second one is the West Indian, which actually came from El Salvador, got nothing to do with India. And then it's the Guatemalan one. Here you can see the three varieties, or the three races, better yet to say, and you see the weaknesses and the strength of each variety or each race. And you can see, let's talk about the main two ones that you can find today in the world. The Mexican one, what it gives to the fruits, and mainly we want to talk about resistant to frost and salinity. So the Mexican one is rather resistant to frost, very, very sensitive to salinity. The West Indian is rather resistant to salinity, is very sensitive to frost. So now you have to think for yourself, in your field, what are your conditions, and according to that, you will choose the race or the variety of your rootstock. Very, very important to do that before you go and start your plantation and variety. All the rest, I'm not going to get into this. You can find it in your later on with the presentation. Let's touch about the varieties, because this is what we are growing, not the rootstock. So the main variety around the world is the 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐚. It's a black variety, and most of the world wants that. This is what the market wants. This is why we call it the king of all varieties, and it's the dominant one international market. The Americans like it, the Europeans like it, and this is what everybody wants. Why? Because it's got excellent taste and it's got very good shelf life. If you ask yourself where it comes from, it's a hybrid between the Guatemalan and the Mexican varieties. So this is where everybody wants to. 70% and more of the avocado international market is 𝐂𝐶. Okay, but 𝐂𝐶 has its problems. It's rather sensitive to climate conditions. So if your conditions are too cold or too hot, then you will be able to grow the trees, but there is a good chance that the fruits will be very, very small. So in the past 20, 30 years, there are more new black skin varieties that you can find in the market. The common, let's say, the common client will not be able to see or to understand which is which. And I'm not going to stop too long about it because we don't have too much time. But you have here on the black skin varieties, the Harvest, the Lamb Hast, which is also known as BL. This is one of the favorite new one today, very productive. Looks very much like the 𝐂𝐶, and the taste is very much alike. There is also new varieties like the Gem and the Maluma, which are patent varieties, which means that you have to pay royalty to the one that made made and produced those varieties. And also, very important to know that there are green skin varieties like the Reed, Fuerte, Ettinger, Pinkerton, and more. There are more than 100 varieties. Now there are some markets that say that they don't want the black varieties. Why? Because it looks black, because it's small, because it's whatever you want, because of the taste. And maybe in India, the market likes the green varieties. So don't say that the green varieties are not important. I would suggest checking the green varieties as well before ruling them out. Beside that, the green varieties are very important in terms of pollination, and in a minute we will talk about it. Planting configuration will depend on the variety and the growth of each variety. And as you can imagine, every variety has its own characteristics of growing. More vegetative, less vegetative, more fast growing, less fast growing. So generally speaking, very generally, we will recommend going for 7 to 5 meters between the rows. This is between the rows, and 3 to 6 meters between the trees, which means that the average modern avocado plantation today will be 4 by 6, 3 by 6. Those are the average. Yes, you can find high density plantations, and yes, you can still find very old plantation of 8 by 8, 10 by 10. But if you want to go modern and intensive, go 6 by 4 or 5 by 6. Those are the averages. If you want to understand what is the difference between high planting densities, so you see here on this graph, the upper row is trees per hectare from 270s all the way to 1,100. And you can see that the more trees per hectare, the higher productivity per hectare as well. And the most important thing is on the early years when we want to push for high productivity. So when we are talking about 1,000, 1,100 trees per hectare, 3 by 3, we are already talking about 10 tons per hectare, and on year 3 or on the third year of production, we are getting very high yield. So this is a bit exaggerating, and I'm not recommending to go rapidly to those densities, but 300, 400 trees per hectare will give you, or even 500 trees per hectare will give you very good production, very fast, and a very excellent ROI. We talked about soil preparation, and here you see a few examples for that. This is a high or heavy soil. It's about 60 to 70%. So despite the fact that it's not recommended to grow on 60%, I know several plantations which are grown on 70% clay soils. What you have to do? Grow on ridges. And it's also recommended to grow between the ridges, to grow cover crop, to make sure that the aeration of the soil will be good to very good. Without this, there is a good chance, or better to say, a bad chance, that the trees will suffer from over watering and logging of water, especially in places in high rain area. Don't save money on soil preparation. Don't save money on soil preparation. Flowering pollination. So this is how it looks. It looks like this on the northern hemisphere, not really on your area. And so you can see that the flower bud starts on November. Okay, this is month and development. Flower bud development starts in November. Flowering and fruit set from March till May. Okay, this is what we call the spring growth. And then after flowering, we have the fruitlet, and this is where we have the June drop. May to July, it's what we call the June drop. This is what all the flowers that are not became fruitlets and small fruits are becoming. And from June, July, it's fruit development all the way until we harvest it. Please pay attention. Harvest and flower bud developments are happening together. This is a lot of energy that comes out from the trees. To think that a tree can bypass those two high energy things together without the help of irrigation and fertigation is a bad conception. Don't be fooled by that. So this is the dormant bud. This is how it starts. Then it begins to be transformed into a reproductive bud. This is already how it looked swollen. Up to now, we don't really know if it will become flower or just another shoot. From this stage, it will become a reproductive bud, and then it will become a flowering. If you look closely in this bud, you will be able to see the small, very small flowers. Flowers buds, in order to develop, again, they need to go between 15 to 20, not lower than 8. If it will go lower than 8, we are going to lose the flowers. We need to have a good balance between leaves and yields, which means leaves and flowers. If we have too much flowers, the energy of the trees will go to the flowers, making sure that the next generation will be ready. And then the tree will lose its leaves. We need to have a good condition in lights, irrigation, fertigation, and oxygen. And we have to understand that the fruits continue to develop also during winter time, when the temperature goes down. So we need to continue and fertigate. This is how it looks. When we are talking about mass flowering, we are talking about avocado. We are talking about more than 1 million flowers per tree. Those are the fluorescence of the trees. We are talking about only 1% of production out of those flowering. Imagine the energy that the trees are putting out for this flowering in order to flower and then to make it into fruitlets. Huge amount of energy that we as growers need to support with irrigation and fertigation. Avocado flowers open twice. Once as a female and then as a male. Oops. How does it look? Like this. It starts as a male and then it switches. And in the middle, we have the sex that makes the fruitlets. Okay? So we can rely on the nature, which is a good idea if you got excellent condition. But if your conditions are a bit problematic, it's recommended to go for cross-pollination. In this case, Hass, and choosing another variety, a green variety, 𝐂𝐤𝐚𝐥, to make sure that we pass. You see that the male and female variety, the male and female flowers are flowering on a cross time, which means that the male flowers of the 𝐂𝐤𝐚𝐥s are with the female flowers and vice versa. This way, we are increasing the possibility of increasing our yield. Okay? Very recommended to do that. How we do that? We are choosing a pollinizer or a pollinator tree you see the green trees are the main varieties, and the light green trees are the pollinators. Let's look at this tree. It's surrounded with the main variety. So every tree, every main variety of a tree, see a pollinators. The bees or the pollinators can go from the pollinizers to the main variety, and therefore we're going to have an action. A good ratio is 1 to 9 trees. It's good enough. Obviously, if you will increase it, you will have better yield, but not all the time the pollinator trees have a good marketing, definitely not as good as the main variety. If we talk about 𝐂𝐤𝐴 and 𝐂𝐨, so 𝐂𝐨 is much better or much more important from a marketing point of view. How do we know that the pollinators are good? We measure it, and we see that when we are getting away from the pollinator, we got less fruits. Okay, this is fruits from per tree on the y-axis, and this is 1 row from the pollinator, 5 rows from the pollinators, and 15 rows from the pollinators. The further you go from the pollinizer, less fruits. This is why it is recommended to go for pollinators. I want to say 1 cultivar variety per block is common. We see it a lot, but it's not recommended. Pollinators trees will make sure that you will have higher yield. And we have to make sure that the pollinators are planted in such way that every main variety tree will see a pollinator tree in order to get good yield. This is just an example for A varieties and B varieties, and we see that 𝐂𝐨 is very good with 𝐂𝐤𝐴 and Fuerte. You should go into, before you plant, and ask which is the best variety that will be a good pollinator for my trees. And according to this, to choose your pollinator. This is the fruit development from fruitlets to those fruits. Those are still very susceptible to fruit drop, very sensitive. But from this stage, we say that the fruits are already on the grower and they are attached. So this point, this is sensitive, and we have to make sure that we irrigate and fertigate properly. From this stage, we are just pushing size for the market. That size is important, but falling or droplets is less problematic. This is how you see the fruit diameter or weight growth. Pay attention. It continued to grow throughout the time. Most of the fruits around the world stopped growing from some point. Avocado continued to grow and grow and grow. Therefore, if you want big fruits, you need to maintain and push water and irrigation in order to get a high size or fruit weight. Yes, the beginning is much faster than the continuous, but still it continues. So if you stop, you're going to have very small fruits, which the market don't like. Why to irrigate the avocado? Even if you grow them in Mexico or in India or in very high rainy areas, because if you don't irrigate them, you get very bad development. The avocado is stress sensitive, which means that if you put them under water stress, you will cause fruit and leaves drop, which means that you will have less fruits, and the fruit that you will have are going to be smaller. This is the fruit size, and at the end of the day, it means that you will have smaller yields without irrigation, even if you have rainy conditions. What you should know about the avocado when we are talking about irrigation, 85% of the feeding roots, the upper level roots, around the top 20 centimeters of the soil. So the fact that 1 week ago it was raining, it's nothing. The upper 20 centimeters are already dry. We need to continue and irrigate, even if yesterday or 2 days ago it was a bit of rain. It's nothing. The close by environment of the roots is already dry. Avocado has a rather high water requirement. We are talking about 700 to 1,100 millimeter per season. That's a lot. So we need to supply it. So if, for example, you have a good rain which goes all the way to 500, 600 throughout the year, you still need to supply 400 to 600 millimeters. Avocado is sensitive to water stress, and that will cause him to lose his size. We talked about it. And luckily for you, you are in touch with Netafim, guys, and we know about avocado very good, and we have a protocol about irrigation according to phenology, from flowering all the way to harvest. The crop factor will change accordingly just before harvest, and this is what our recommendation accordingly. On the first years, we are not talking about crop factor, we are talking about liters per tree. Okay, so liters per tree per day. On the first year, we are talking about 8 liters, and on the third year, just before it becomes productive, we are talking about 15 liters per tree per day. And our guys in Netafim India will be happy to help you to calculate. It's not rocket science, and we are here to help you with this calculation. Okay. So, do we really need to irrigate? We made a study here in Israel, and we generated stress by growing, I have a picture here, by growing avocado in a pot, and by that we managed to get differences on the fruitlets. And what we found out that the fruitlet drop, what we call the June drop, is only the final stage, but the stress that caused the fruits to fall started already in flowering. So the people say, but yes, there is flowering, no fruits, so we don't need to irrigate that much. It's not true. The effect that you see today with the fruits that dropping down started weeks and months before that. You have to make sure that you supply fertilizers and irrigation without reducing the stress all year round. We gave 5 treatments. The optimal irrigation, 150% of water, and then we played with before August and after August. And what we found out, that even if you give 100%, only when you give an optimal amount of water, like I showed you in the table before, according to our recommendation, you are going to achieve growth of yield every year. This is year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you will get increment of the yield. Even if you will get 50% more, you're going to get less yield. So let's talk about year 2016. Look, that 50% more water did not receive higher yield than the optimal. You need to know how to irrigate, not just to add the water, but to give them at the correct time. And if you stress the trees, either by giving them not enough water or by giving them too late, you are going to get bad yield. Something that you can pay attention from stressed trees, they get into alternation, high yield, low yield, high yield, low yield, like we see in treatment 3, and we want to bypass this effect, and we're going to do it by optimal irrigation or fertigation according to our recommendation. So how to irrigate? Our recommendation, you have two options. The first option, drip irrigation. We recommend to go for 2 laterals. Why 2 laterals? Because with 2 laterals, you wet a bigger volume of higher level of roots, the feeding roots. So as you can see here, 2 laterals, about 60 centimeters from the trunk, which means 1.2 meters, 1.5 meters from each other. And this way, we are going to wet a very good area of water. The recommended spacing is 0.5 meter, and the flow rate can be from 0.7 all the way to 2.3 according to your soil, according to your climatic conditions. This is very general. Again, the recommended dripper, if you ask me, is Uniram, but DripNet is also a possibility. And on the first year, in order to save water, it's possible to use a ring plug. A ring plug that you put on the dripper, and this way you save water and you save herbicides because there are no weeds like you see here. Under the avocado trees, there are natural mulch, the leaves of the avocado. Under the avocado leaves mulch, you will find all those trees. This is just on the surface level. Very good conditions. And this is how it looks in a better. This is exactly what we want, and this is what we achieve on a mature plantation with drip irrigation. But there is also the possibility of micro sprinklers. In this case, our recommendation to go for a compensated micro sprinklers with a super net. This is the best compensated micro sprinklers in the market. 1 to 2 emitters per tree according to the plant spacing in your plantation, and also according to the irrigation, the flow rate of each micro sprinklers. So 50 to 70 liters per micro sprinklers, double or not according to your plantation. We recommend to go for a regulated flow with a super net, because normally or many times the plantations have topography issues, and we want to make sure that every tree receives the same amount of water and fertilizers. On the first year, you can use a deflector in order to save water and to keep the diameter, the wetted diameter, very small. So this is something that it's possible to get. You break the deflector when the tree is bigger. What is the advantages and disadvantages? So drip versus micros. My recommendation is to go for drip. Why? Because the maintenance of drip is smaller. And one of the main problems with micro sprinklers is what you see in these pictures. The micro sprinklers wets the trunk, and then we get phytophthora. So this is problem that you don't see in drip. Also, if you have an issue with water saving, someone might say that it's not a problem. So drip will save 20 to 35% of the amount of water for micro sprinklers. So it's an issue. In some cases, I know that in Israel, there is only 1 to 5 plantations that are using micro sprinklers. They have excellent yield, but they are wasting a lot of water, which is very problematic in Israel. Nutrition. We talked about irrigation. Let's say a few words about fertilizers, the feedings. I've been to India this year, and I've spent some time in citrus, guava plantation, pomegranates plantation, and the guys in India, the farmers in India, understand the importance of fertilizers, but they give them once, twice, 4 times a year. Guys, we are talking about continuous irrigation. All the time, the avocado is an evergreen. Pay attention. Treatment 1 was continuous fertigation injection. Treatment 1 was only one fertigation. Pay attention. Look at this tree. You don't have to be Ziv. You don't have to be specialist. Treatment 1, look at the tree. Look at the balance. Looks excellent. On the other hand, the treatment 3 with the not proper fertigation, the tree looks very, very sad. Almost no leaves. No leaves, no photosynthesis. No photosynthesis, big fruitlets, and also small drops. What about the yield? You can see it. Treatment 1 with the continuous nutrient injection achieved the biggest fruits and more fruits, so higher yield. This is exactly what we want to achieve. So maybe continuous injection can be a bit problematic for some of the grower, so no problem. Go for once a week, once every 10 days, but don't think about going for to apply fertilizers once, twice, 4 times a year. It's not enough, guys. It's not enough. Luckily for you, with Netafim, we can supply to you the best irrigation with fertilizers machine. Just to show you, this is the fruit weight on the y-axis. This is day of the year. This is flowering. And from flowering, you see the fruit is gaining weight. But also the nitrogen is going up within the flower, within the fruits, and the potassium is going up. Everything is going up. So we need to supply the nutrients in order to make sure that the fruit will continue to grow. If we will not supply the nitrogen all along the season, we will have smaller fruits. It's very simple. Luckily for you, we already made all those experiments, and we still conduct them. We don't know everything. So if you want to achieve 400 fruits per tree, so you will be able to achieve 20 tons per hectare, you need to apply about 250 kg of nitrogen, about 60, depends on your soil, of potassium, and 200 to 300. Now again, this is very, very general recommendation. Without seeing your soil, it's always recommended to make leaf analysis and soil analysis in order to fine-tune your recommendation. One word, if you remember, balance, 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 and more balance. If you have good balance between your fruits, flowering, and leaves, you will have good yield. If not, this is how your trees will look like, and this is not what you want to achieve. So in order to summarize in the 2 minutes that I've got left, in order to, if you will choose a good variety with a high population of the right spacing, and you will inject, use proper drip irrigation and nutrition or fertigation, you will get good climatic condition by adding the pollinizer variety and honeybee hives. Don't forget the honeybee hives. With good pruning, what you will achieve? You will achieve faster, stable, and higher yield and income, less manpower and higher efficiency with the manpower. You will get a good light penetration, which means higher yield throughout the years, between year to year, and when needed, your spraying will be much more efficient, and your plantation will be resilient to climate events, even in the climate change events that we are suffering. And for further information, I indulge you to go to our agronomist in India, or to go into our website here, netafimindia.com, and we will be happy to assist you in your new plantation of avocado. So this was my presentation, exactly 50 minutes as promised. And now I can go back to see if there are any questions in the Q&A.
Ziv, we received many questions. So within 10 minutes, it is not possible to answer all these questions. So whatever that within 10 minutes, so we will give, you can give your answers. So balance questions, we will send us a mail to them. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
First question.
So again, okay.
Is daily fertigation better than weekly or fortnight fertigation?
So
18th question.
Let's go. Yeah. So let's go to the extreme, without pointing exactly what is continuous fertigation. Generally speaking, continuous fertigation is much better than broadcast fertigation once a year or even 4 times a year. So this is the extreme. So now we agree to go for continuous irrigation. If you ask me, when we are talking on avocado, evergreen, which always works, so it's very recommended to go for continuous. It's better than once every 2 weeks. But I know sometimes it can be problematic to prepare the fertilizer, to mix it, to make sure that it will be injected. It's a lot of work. And one might say, Ziv, it's too much for me. So the high recommendation, yes, go for continuous injection. But if it's not possible, try to go for weekly or every 12 days, maximum 14 days. It's okay as well. And after I said that, we will have to see and fine tune. If your soil is rather rich, so even going for 20 days without fertilizers, it will be okay. But if your soil is sandy and very poor, then 20 days without food is 20 days without food. We all understand what it means. So I'm sorry that I don't have one strict answer, but this is life.
Yes. So my opinion, better they can go with weekly twice or daily fertigation will be ideal to avocado trees. Okay. Second question, Jiv. So how many beehives per hectare?
So how many
For
beehives?
pollination. Yeah.
So again, let's go to the extreme. I'm talking from an Israeli point of view. What I'm going to say, it's going to be a bit intimidating, okay? Because in Israel we don't have insects, too many natural insects. So in this case, we have to help the natural insects. We are going all the way during flowering and fruit set. We are going all the way to 10 beehives of honeybees per hectare. I know it's a lot. But it makes worthwhile. My recommendation: start from 5. See under your local condition, because in India you do have insects and they help, and also the pollination, the wind is helping, and so bit by bit you will learn your conditions. But those are the level, around 5 beehives per hectare in order to get good pollination. One thing is that is recommended. I don't know how much it's allowed in India to use not only honeybees but also bumblebees. In some countries it's not allowed. If it's allowed, it's recommended to combine those two together. Next question, Savari. Okay. Regarding questions about the production in South India, I don't want to answer it. I don't know enough India. We need to look at the condition, soil, climate, and water, and according to that, we will be able to say which variety is better to which place. But it's also for you to understand the marketing. I can come with an excellent recommendation about a variety that will have excellent production in your area, but the market do not like it. So you have also have to understand the marketing situation. Is it going to go to local market within India, or is it going to be exported? Export where? To Europe, to South, to North America, where in Europe? So there are a lot of issues before you choose the variety of your choice. Maximum temperature for growing avocado plant. So I said, avocado come from.
Ziv, whatever that questions are there, we will answer that questions by mail. Okay.
Okay.
So because it is almost time 4 o'clock. So thank you for your very good presentation. Almost growers they enjoyed that one. So and also we are on behalf of Netafim, I am thanking all the growers who participating this webinar. So if you have any questions or clarification, please reach out that email response@netafim.com, and also we have given our contact number also. So please, you can contact anytime. If you have any questions regarding avocado cultivations, please let us know. Please share your details, everything. Okay, we will ready to answer. Okay, thank you once again. Yeah.
Thank you all. See you in India.